Welcome. Uh, we are on chapter 7. I almost said 6 there. But good day to you. We will be going through and looking at these PowerPoints briefly. And then we're going to get into more of Lab 1 and continue on with our progress that we've been making. Now for this chapter's objectives, let me actually go into presentation mode here. It'd be easier for you guys. Yeah, okay. Maybe for some reason my monitor can't handle that. So yeah, sorry guys, we're gonna have to do it maybe this way. There we go. All right, chapter objectives. The big one is to be using some specific tags called article, aside, and and section. Elements, tags, same difference. But and then we got the ability to put in figure captions, and that's all part of what we call a cascading styling sheet grid layout. Because we can apply styles to each of these tags, either as a whole, like, hey, this is with our CSS file, we can say, hey, every article on this web page, style it this way. Every aside, style it this way, and so forth. We're going to get into the opacity property. We'll talk a little bit about that. I'm going to talk to you about the alpha channel, and I'll just do a little demo on that. And some other stuff here, box sizing, text shadow. We probably won't hit that too hard because I'm going to save some time for actually working on lab one, on your lab. And then some more. But where it begins is kind of what are semantic elements. Well, we know what an element, starting and ending an HTML tag, and the ability to provide some kind of standard naming for sections of a web page that can be used by, and here's the thing, not only search engines, but these things, the standardization all goes towards accessibility as well. There's going to be software written, and there is software written to provide accessibility that is going to make use of these type of elements, and that will just allow the ability for you to increase the depth and the breadth of your web page. And not only that, but here's the new one, guys, that a lot of people don't really consider, is that the ultimate accessibility is artificial intelligence. We want your essentially, whenever I put a prompt into the AI, or what Google does now is they bring up the answer to the questions with a link to it. That's kind of the new way of doing things now. When before, when Google came out, everybody was freaked out about Google being able to give answers, and Google took over the world. Now we got, not only is Google able to give you the answers, but they're able to search everything on the web page that is meaningful to your answer. It's crazy. It used to be we'd have to put in a question or whatever, a search term, and then of course navigate through all the web pages and being good at throwing out all the junk. But now, hey, we got artificial intelligence to do the sifting for us. And as more and more generations come up with artificial intelligence, the more it's going to be used and added on to, and also there's going to be innovations that come with it. All right, so we got the article element. We begin with an article with the less than, greater than, and then of course we end with the backslash article. just like any other HTML tag, but this one is, of course, specific so that it's standard that's where an article is placed within the web page content. And thus the same thing for some of the other particular semantic elements. And here's the thing about these tags, just like all the other HTML tags, some of them are meaningfully able to be nested, but some of them are not. In this case, articles can be nested within each other. You can have an article and then an article within the article section. So nesting definitely works. Now, here's an example kind of an idea of an article element. Notice here that we have the main section and we have 3 article elements that are nested in it. Now, you notice that they draw boxes around here. When you're actually dealing with your your CSS styling, or excuse me, CSS styling, it's good to start by drawing a border around every one of your elements. It really helps visualize what's going on the web page, and then you get rid of the border when you're done with your CSS editing, with your HTML editing and so forth. Now the aside element is where we could put an article and then have an aside, something that's next to it. And it could be something as simple as something that it adds more depth to the article itself. But here's an example. So say we have an article, and then we can put to the side of the article, maybe it's describing the steps. The article has written steps to put a bicycle together, and then the aside is a brief outline of the steps or something like that. It could be any kind of, like I've seen a lot in cooking websites where they have the paragraphs that detail the steps, but then to the side they have just the simple little recipe that your grandma would write up and put on in her card, so their card box or whatever. and that's kind of one main reason for it. But I mean, it could be used, this kind of relationship can be used for all kinds of different designs that you may want to implement. It's all up to your imagination. Okay, and then we got a section element. Now this one is essentially just a generic container for, it could be anything you want, really. It's generic. All right, here's some examples. We have here embedded and nested inside of a generic section a heading and a paragraph, but nested within that, within an article. Then we have the Figcaption. So this is with a figure caption pair. So you have a figure, and then you have the caption of the figure below. Mostly when you see a figure in a book or any kind of instructional website, the figure caption will reference the image by just labeling it. That way in the article or the discussion of the web page, they can refer to the article with the label. You can use it for other things too, but mostly when you see a figure caption pair in a book, you'll see figure 3.14 space, and then something that briefly describes the figure, and that obviously makes all your web page more accessible as well. All right, So then we get into the CSS layouts, and this one particular is how to make a grid of column layouts and the grid is really used. I mean, grids are important to have because it gives you that ability to really organize things, kind of the way most people view like a table in Excel and whatnot. But let's, I don't even think they give an example. But no, the grid we're going to actually be doing when we get into it. So we're going to be playing with that later. The opacity, let's do the opacity right now because I think that's a good important step. I used, there's all kinds of different paint programs out there, but essentially we have what's called, it's with an image like a PNG, also what we call a PNG file. We have what's called an alpha channel, and the alpha channel is what represents its opacity. So when the alpha channel, if you look at my coloring down here, I've got opacity alpha. When the alpha channel is 0, that color is opaque. It's totally transparent. And then the greater that number is, as you increase it, it increases the transparent, or the ability to see that particular item. And so let's give you a good example. And what we're going to use is we're going to use an RGB example, red, blue, green values. We all know the primary colors. And what we use is we use our red colors. We use, and red can go from 0 to 255. 0 being no red, 255 being all red, or the most red. And we then would have a green value that represents the green primary color, and it's kind of the same as red. It can go from 0 to 255 as well. For some reason, this guy is kind of tripping out on me. There we go. No, you stinker. Okay. A green value from 0 to 255 in value as well. Then we have the blue, 0 to 255. Now that for your JPEGs, your JPG images, that's all it has. It only has the ability to have a color from 0 to 255, 0 to 255, 0 to 255, red, green, and blue. You put all that together and you get the amount of colors that are available for a JPEG. And that is, hey, we can have 0 is in there, 256 different colors for red. And for every red color, we can have 256 different colors of green. And for every red and green combination, we can have 256 colors of blue, giving us our 16.77216 different colors that we have available to us. But a PNG image is an image that's able to hold red, blue, and green values, which are just numbers. That's every pixel. We assign these 4 numbers. We assign it a red number, we assign it a green number, we assign it a blue number, and then we assign that pixel a position on the screen or in the image. And every image is made up of lots of pixels. But other image types other than JPEG have the ability to do an alpha channel where they can say, hey, here's an alpha where we can specify how opaque that is actually, that actual, and you can't see it, but I just wrote down alpha here. But that's from 0 to 255 as well. So we can give each pixel a red value, a green value, a blue value, which makes the color. Then we can give each pixel also an alpha value, which describes how transparent it is. So let's do something just to play with things. This actually allows you to add layers. My first layer is going to be my, my red, green, blue. I have layer 2 here that is just essentially nothing. Now what I'm going to do is, you see how layer 2 here is all check marked? But you look over here, and I'm going to do the little ink dropper, and I'm going to look at the color of this background. And you see that it has 0, 0, 0 for red, green, and blue. But the opacity, well, actually, I don't even think that worked. I think that's doing the wrong thing. There we go. That's what I was expecting. So you see, everything is zeroed out, especially the alpha channel. Because if your alpha is at 255, that means you're fully viewable. That pixel is fully visible versus that one right there. So let's do this. Let's create a circle, and I'm just going to make it totally visible. Oh, it's going to be a square. Okay, let's fill it. Let's fill it with, excuse me, let's fill it with that color. Then we're going to show both layers. Okay, well, what happened there? Well, I can't see through that layer that's above my previous layer. They're stacked up on top of each other. So I can make this square more opaque by adjusting its alpha channel, and every pixel will become more opaque versus less opaque as the value goes up. You know, and of course we can zoom in and deal with each pixel separately. It's definitely, let's actually play with that. So if we were to take the drawing here, and let's change our color. Okay, so that is drawing, is it one? I think that's the 1 pixel. I think that's 1 pixel. So we can come in here and, you know, deal with this 1 pixel at a time. Or, you know, and we can also set the opacity of those pixels. For some reason that's been a stinker. We'll come back to that anyways. But that's kind of the idea of opacity. And let me see, because I don't want to spend too much time in this program, but let's see if I can just switch that back and forth. For some reason, it's not liking me when I actually deal with that. But, you know, I think you guys got the point. It's a pixel. It's by each pixel that every red, green, and blue value, with the ability to have that pixel transparent and how transparent it is, and we call that opacity. All right, that's kind of our brief walkthrough. And now we get into, excuse me, the actual part of where we're going to do lab 1. And I'm gonna get prepared for that and begin the recording again. So we're gonna pause for a little bit, and I'll be back to see you in an eye blink. Okay, we're back in live. What we're gonna do is begin lab 1 as we usually do. We're gonna begin with step one, copy image files from the lab one folder, data files to the music images folder of our own website. So I have my website on the desktop and it's called my website. And what we're gonna do is copy those over. Now, hold on though. Let's see. Lab 1 to music images folder. Media. Images? Okay. Looks like, oh no, just images. Okay, we'll do that. So I'm going to copy the images that we need from the chapter 7, lab 1. All right, now I have the data files.zip here. Let's go ahead and get into there and do that. And I'm going to grab chapter 7, lab 1. And then we're going to grab, oh, it looks like we've got a few images. If we are going to Control C, and let's just, let's follow in to your music images folder. So what I did is I held down Control while I selected all of those. And let's just grab every image. That's not a file that we're going to get. So we're going to get all of those guys and we're going to take them back and we're going to go back to the desktop, to the website, and go into images and paste them in here. Okay, now, why did that not work? Oh. Huh, okay. Take two. I can select all of those, hold down Control, deselect that one, copy, go back, go to my website images folder, wherever you guys keep your images. And I did a Control V there, and it's not. Oh, yeah, guys, sometimes this is very typical. The problem here that I'm having, and you'll often, and I still even make this mistake, when you're working with zip files, sometimes you just got to take the zip files and unzip them. Well, most of the time you have to unzip them. I'm going to call these data files. Then I'm going to go ahead and do that. Then I'm going to go into chapter 7. I'm going to unzip that, copy that, paste it here. And now I'm going to go into lab 1 and grab my images. It looks like that's all of them. And see how they came up, already rendered. All right, I think we're good. Yeah, don't forget to unzip your files, guys. I mean, it's kind of silly. Okay. There we go. All right. Crisis averted. Step 1 is done. Open the lessons HTML file in your text editor. Okay, let's go into our text editor. We're going to be using Visual Studio as usual. And we're going to go to the lessons.html. Open with Visual Studio Code. All right, now we've got our lessons webpage that we've been working on. Now let's keep on going. Create a new HTML file and name the file instructors. Here's the thing is, I don't know, I'm kind of wondering if my template is up to date, but I'm gonna just I'm going to go with my gut and say that it's fine. So let's go ahead and copy the template. And you know what I'm going to do? It is let's put this to the side so that we can review the instructions as I'm doing the disk work. Okay, so I'm going to copy template here. I'm going to paste. I hit Control C for copy, Control V for paste. And now I'm going to rename. We're going to call that instructors. Let's make sure that instructors, that looks good. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do step 5. We're going to add the class attribute with a value of grid. And we're going to do that in the main element of instructors. Okay, so we got that open. Nope, we got the wrong file open. Open with Visual Studio Code. Okay, now we have instructors. All right. So we are ready to continue on with this step. I'm going to do a quick look over here and yeah, so we're back. Let's continue on with our steps here. One thing I want to do in the instructors HTML file is I want to make this title instructors. And that kind of takes us down to number 5, where we are going to add, and let's go back to the actual instructions here. I'll read them off. We're going to, step 5 is in the main element, add a class attribute with a value of grid. So when we're in the main element, what we're going to do is we're going to give it the CSS class attribute. So our CSS file can attribute styles to all of that type of class called grid. So every time we give that grid attribute, that is for us to be able to style the grid using that class attribute itself. And to do that, we're just going to go to the main here, and we're going to say class equals, and we're going to give it a name, grid, and that name we can use for every class that we give called grid, regardless of the element name that we put it into. So like we could add a CSS for main, but it would affect all mains. You know, we can add that attribute for all main tags, but here we can you know, apply a class to any element from which the CSS attributes would be implemented, or the stop, and then we can reference that from the CSS. All right, that takes us into 6. 6 is going to be, in the main element, replace the div element with an aside element, and then add a paragraph with the following text. Okay, what we're going to do here is in the main element, replace the div element. So here's our div element, and we want that to be an aside. And then we're going to put a paragraph in it. Oh, a key aside. There we go. And then we're going to go / aside. And inside of it, we will add meet and it's going to be a paragraph that we're going to nest inside of this element. So we're going to put the P tag in and close it. I love Visual Studio, it closed it for me. So it's going to be meet our professional and talented instructors. Okay. There, that's step 6 of instructors.html or HTML. And now we're on 7. We're going to add, let's go and look at it. 7, add a figure element below the aside element. Nest the following elements within the figure element. Okay, so we're going to have a figure with some nested elements inside of it. And then we're going to add the instructor picture. Okay, let's see here. Figure element is going to be nested inside the aside. So we're going to go here. And that's going to be after. I think that's going to be after. Actually, I think I read that wrong. Let's go back to that. Below the aside element. It's not going to be nested in. Okay. So that's easy. So we'll go here. Then we'll do figure. And close it. And then what are we going to do? We're going to add some stuff into figure, I imagine. So we're going to add some image sources. I'm going to reference guitar instructor. And then we're going to add a Figcaption below that. Okay. So what we need to do here is we need to add an image tag. And we're going to say the source is equal to, and what it's going to be is images. I believe I'm doing this right. Yeah. And it's going to be guitar. Oh, see, you love that. It pops up for me. I love that. That is not normal, guys. This IntelliSense stuff is awesome. It fills in stuff for you. It'll even fill in code, JavaScript for you and anticipate what you're looking for. Okay, now we got to close that. And let's go ahead and put our alt in. And we're going to describe the image as a guitar instructor. Okay, and then we close it. All right, and then we want a caption with that. We want a caption, and the caption, the Figcaption, we embed inside of the figure. And we want to put it below the image or to the right, but we want the Figcaption to be after the image. And what we're going to do is put the caption, and the caption is just going to be, who is it? It's Jose Ramirez. And then, since I'm building a Border Collie website, Jose Ramirez is going to be in charge of agility. Nah, he sounds like a fun guy. No. That's got to be Frisbee. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I messed. Okay, there we go. And I think that does the instructors. Now let's go ahead and save. We can hit Control S, which makes it nice and easy. Control S. And let's visualize what we're doing as we progress. So I'm going to I'm going to get instructors up on the web page here, up on my web browser. Let's see, where are you? Where did you pop up at? I had it open with Chrome. There we go. Okay. So this is our instructors page. Here is our caption down here, and okay, good, we're moving along. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to we can modify some of that stuff later. Actually, let's see. We got instructors. Let's go on to step 7. We can come back to some other stuff. Let's move through our steps. Let's get those done. Let's be productive. Okay, step 7. Add a figure element. Oh no, we're Jack Williams. So we're going to do the same thing, but Jack Williams. Is that right? We had. Oh, I skipped a step. That's all right, because we'll just do it this way. It looks like we're doing the same thing. We're adding figure elements for all these images that we put in. So that makes it really easy, because I can just copy this whole thing, and we're supposed to have the other one above. But let's modify that depending on what we're supposed to have. It looks like this is Jack Williams guitar. Jack Williams. And then I'm going to do this one. This is agility. All right, and then we got to get the right image for Jack Williams. Where did we put it? We put it under images, of course. Oh, you know what? It'll probably pop up for us. Agility. No. Which one did they want? Guitar instructor. Oh, we mixed it up. Okay, so it is guitar instructor. And then Jose Ramos is a... Oh, I knew he was fun. I knew Jose was fun. He gets the electric guitar. So I'm going to Control Z, undo that. And then this is going to be Jose Ramirez. And I'm going to change its image, or his image, to electric guitar. There we go. Okay, so we got one more. We're going to go on to step 8 here. Step 8. Okay, so it's just 6, 7, 8. Ah, there we go. Elisa, and then Maya Hill. So I know I got 2 more coming. So you know what? Let's just copy these 2. Put them below. And now we're going to modify the image of the third one. It's supposed to be, let's see what it's supposed to be. Elisa. And Elisa is a piano instructor. So this guitar, that should be agility. Frisbee. And then Elisa, they're going to be, they, for some reason, I want to go crazy on the capitals. Elisa is going to be freestyle. She's going to be dance. Because Border Collies can dance. Yeah. Okay, so let's see what this one is. It's going to be piano instructor. Good. And the name is going to be Elisa Petrov. And then Maya Hill. Okay. Maya Hill is a guitar instructor. Oh no, violin. They must have messed that up. So this is going to be freestyle. A freestyle instructor. And that is my hill. Freestyle is anything, frisbee, dance, agility, all put together. I don't even know if there is one of those categories. I know that there's frisbee and agility. And dance, yeah, there's dance. Or they call it freestyle, one or the other. All right, let's look at what we got. Let's do Control S, and let's move along to look at our instructor site. Okay, we got them all top down for now with our figure captions. All right, great. Let's go ahead. We got all the way, let's see how many steps we got to. We got through all the way to 12. And how many we got? We've got 24. So we're doing pretty good for now. Now we get into the style. And that's going to be, you know what? I'm going to, we've made it this far for now. I'm going to take a quick breather for some coffee, and I'll be back in an eye blink for you guys. But it's always fun to find my pause button. That's usually the case. All right, see you guys in a little bit. All right, we are going to be editing our styles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into our CSS folder of our website folder. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to say open our styles.css with Visual Studio Code. Okay, now we have our styles up, and let's go back to our instructions. Our instruction says to add a style rule for box sizing that applies to all elements. Oh, okay. So let's go ahead and do that step. And there we go. Got to have the questions up as I'm to the side as I'm kind of following along here. All right, let's do number 12. Actually, you know what? I think we skipped a section. Yeah, number 11. Excuse me. We'll come back to that. We got to in the CSS. We got to add these guys. These are the elements that we actually just talked about and we're implementing. And so these are the elements that we're going to want to style in our CSS. And we just added them. So let's go in and add those. And it looks like we want some styling to go along with our main elements, which makes sense. So I'm going to add in here, let's do section, let's do aside, and let's do figure, and let's do figure caption. Okay, so all 4 of those we're going to add. Then we're going to add a style rule that applies to all elements. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to use the wildcard operation, which is the asterisk. And what that does is it says, hey, even though I've told you to apply a style to body, header, images, header H1, I want a style to go to everything. Anything in here, and then we can apply other styles specifically to those particular elements. So this is going to be an asterisk here that's going to be the finder. So asterisk means everything, or you know, it's often used as an operator for search engines to mean anything else that is the same. It's back from the old DOS days. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to style this. And we're going to put in our style delimiters. And the actual style that we're going to do is we're going to do box sizing. And we want a border box. Now, this is interesting that we're doing this because this is exactly what I tell you guys to do is this. Now, let's see what it does. You know, maybe let's go ahead and I saved it. Let's refresh it. No, it didn't do that. No, let's see. You know, let's see what this box sizing actually does. I don't think I saved this. Let's see what maybe it won't change anything just yet. Yeah, okay. Actually, you know what? That doesn't mean put a border around it. It means a border box. Okay. Now we're going to go along next here to the next step, which is step 13. We're going to create a specific style rule for the aside element. So create a style rule for the aside element. Now let's look at this. This is what we want to do with the aside element. We want to apply to any aside element that we have these specific rules. So let's go ahead and get that into our CSS. What we're going to do is let's go down here. We don't want it in these guys. You know, it actually kind of like to keep things together. An aside element is like a generic element. So let's just put it right here. And that's going to be aside. And we're going to do text align center. The autofill and the IntelliSense is really doing well. Font size. We want that to be 1.5 EM. And then we want the font weight we want it to be bold. Then we want the color. Now this isn't, so it's going to be 3.7. Yeah, let's use one that we've used before. It looks like it's popping up here. And then we've got text shadow. Give a little bit of some shadow to it. Now let's look. Text shadow. 3 pixels. So we want the shadow to be 3 pixels by 3 pixels by 10 pixels. And we want the shadow a specific color, which is 82. 282? No, 280 CB. Okay. That's for the aside. Now we're going to do the next step, which is 14, where we're going to do the figure. create a style rule for the figure element. And let's look at what we got. The figure element, we want these style rules. Figure element, we want a position, relative, and the max width. Oh, I kind of goobered that up. Max width is equal to 275 pixels. Okay, relative means related to the previous element. Relative to the previous element. And margin, 2% auto. So we're going to have a 2% margin around any text. And then there we go, border, 8 pixel solid. Now we're going to play with this a little bit. I want to go back to that, all element, and we're going to give it a solid actual color, 373684. Okay, now let's save this, Control S. And let's go back and look at these. They should have a border on them now. Let's refresh this. Okay, you see the border now? Okay, what I was wanting to do is, what I usually do when I'm designing CSS is I will put a border around everything. So let's take this guy and let's put him up in that wildcard to be applied to every element, just to see what happens, just for fun. That's kind of what I was alluding to earlier. See that? So when you put a border around all your elements, and make sure it's kind of like a bright color. So what I would do is, if I were using a border around every element, I would be silly with it. I would pick something really crazy as an identifier, and then when I look at the web page, you see how that makes it so much nicer to visualize what's going on with your CSS. That way you kind of get an idea of when you're using the position attribute. It really gets kind of difficult because the natural way that your elements are put in is top down, and relative means relative top down. But if you use other different types of positioning, and of course we'll talk about them as we see them, it makes it very difficult to get a grasp of what your elements are doing. What are they doing? You can use the element inspector here. I believe we talked about that. Developer tools, elements, and you can inspect every element and hover over it, and it'll show you each one as you progress. You got your main class, then you can see, you can do it that way. That's definitely a way. But yeah, this is, and what I would do is I just comment this out, and I would come back to it if I needed to really get some kind of persnickety positioning that's kind of eluding me on how it should be done. All right, well, in the middle of everything, my computer actually kind of died, and the recording got stopped. So we're back. Let's take this up from step 15. We're going to be doing the Figcaption here, and I've already got it typed out, so I'm going to just plunk it in. And let's talk about the absolute position. And it looks like I'm missing a few steps here for the Figcaption. So we're going to go ahead and go back to that. And what we want is color. Oh, you know what? Let's finish this up and then talk about the absolute positioning. And then we're going to go width 100%. We want it to auto expand. Something's. Did I spell that right? Width? Oh, I didn't finish this out. That's why. I love how it pops up those little errors for us. And width, good. Padding, 5%. And 0 around top and bottom and right and left. Good. Oh, I did it again. Then we're going to align the text in the center. And we're going to go with font family. We're going to go with Verdana. That's good enough. We're going to go with font size. 1.5 EM. Then we want it to be bold. There. All right, absolute. And let's use W3 Schools as an example. They've got a really good show of kind of what it is in this particular meaning. So we're going to go to W3 Schools, absolute HTML. So when you have something embedded, and in this case we have our Figcaption embedded inside of our figure. So let's go look at our instructors. Is that true? Yes, that is true. So see, we have Figcaption embedded inside of our figure. So when we say absolute, we say absolutely relative to the figure. So it's going to embed it. It's going to be absolutely within the figure. And as you can see, the example shows that it's inside and it's allowed to overlap. So when you say relative, that means one is drawn and then the next is drawn. But when you say absolute, one can be overlapped over the previous one. And so that's where you can overlap elements, is with the absolute. And so yeah, this website I use as references all the time to look these things up, because there's so much there to know. There's no way you can remember everything. It really isn't. So don't go down that rabbit hole. It's not like other things that you work with. References should always be available when you're in development mode. They're a must, because there's just so much there that, and then you go to another language and you get the same thing. So keep that as a good reference with examples when you're kind of trying to figure these things out and relate them in your mind. And then of course that border trick really helps. All right, we got our Figcaption. We're done with step step, let's see. Step 15. Okay, now we're going to get into step 16, where in the tablet media query, we're going to add a grid class selector. I believe I already got this done because, you know, as I said, the video kind of tapped out on me. So let's just go back down and review it. So what I want to do is I want to open up my styles CSS. I'm going to save it, yeah. So if I go into my folders, my website folder, I want to modify my CSS. So I'm going to go into my website in CSS. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say open with Visual Studio so that I can edit my CSS, my styles. And then the style rule that I'm going to apply for number 11, step 11, I'm going to add these guys right here. Section, aside, figure, Figcaption. And what that does is it allows us to have our default styling that we assign to most tags, most HTML tags. And your styling will start there, and then it'll change as you get more specific to the level of style you're on, to where last will be where you directly call out the name of an element to style, and then that would be more prevalent than the default, you know, kind of global. Did I? Yeah, we already did that. Let's move on because that thing kind of messed me up. Okay. Let's mark this one out. Okay, styling, step 16. In the tablet media query, we're going to modify the media query and add a grid class selector to display the grid template columns to a 2-column layout. So we're going to want to apply a 2-column layout for tablets. So when you open up the web page, you have 2 columns for the instructors that are listed. So we're going to go down to here, and we're going to add inside of the tablet this guy right here. Now I already, you know, typed this in, so we'll talk about it. Basically, we're saying automatically assign to column 1 and 2, automatically size it, and that means that it will size based on its parent container, and we want a gap of 20 pixels between each one of the images. And we're displaying them, the images, or anything with that grid property as a grid. And within that step, the next step, which is step 17, we create a style rule for the aside element. And the aside element, we want it to start on column 1, and we want it to span 2 columns. So we get that done, and then the next one is, where's the next one? Then we're into the desktop. So we're going to do the same sort of thing for the desktop. But let's look at what we've actually done so far with the aside and the web page and how it should look. Okay, oh, look at that. that really changed the aside behavior. It made it much cleaner. And we have the opacity. That's really cool. Okay, I like that. So essentially we made it span the whole aside span within its parent container. See how it went all the way across now? It's kind of cool. Now we're on, we got done with step 17, now we're on 18. So in the desktop media query, create a style rule for the grid class selector and set the grid template to columns to a 4-column layout. So instead of a 2-column layout. So that means, what is that going to look like? Oh, we're going to set up 4. This is for 2 columns. We're going to use 4 of these. So let's do this. Let's just copy this guy and this guy, because I'm sure we're going to use it. In fact, we've done the media query for the tablet. Now we're going to do the media query for the desktop. And we already have, I'm pretty sure that everything else defaults to 1 column. So for the mobile, because we don't have to specify it, because it'll all be relative inline, not relative, but inline position. So we won't have to mess with the mobile settings. I doubt we have to. Here's the desktop viewpoint. So let's put those 2 in here. And if we want to have 4 columns, we're going to say auto here. So we're going to have 4 auto-sized columns. And we're going to have the same grid, but we're not going to have 20 pixels in between them. And it looks like we don't need this guy whatsoever. That's interesting. Okay. But it looks like in step 18, we have an aside here, and we want it to span all 4 columns. That's step 20, actually. That's step 20. So step 19, we want to set the Figcaption settings just for the Figcaption. We want to have our font size to be 1M. Okay. Okay, that is all the way up through step 20. And then let's look at the difference now. Since we're on the desktop, it should, let's do Control S. It should show us the 4 columns now. There we go, 4 columns. And then when you get on the tablet, the other one will be invoked. And if I don't like that, but they don't do 20 pixels in between. You can definitely tell some overlap is there. Something's going on with that guy. That might need some massaging because you can see there's a little pixel off here. Okay, I think we are done with our CSS styling. We got it modified for 2 columns for the tablet, 4 columns for the desktop, and inline 1 column by default for the mobile. Let's get on to our next step, which is going to be step 21. We want to add these guys, and I want to be able to copy that. Okay, let's come back to that. We are add the following link elements within the head element on all of the HTML files, including the template file. So, whoa, we're gonna, okay, that shouldn't be too bad. We want that to be to all of the files. So we need to add it in right there. And we're going to do it for all of these guys and the template. So I'm going to take a shortcut and copy those. You guys can type them in. I'm sure this is getting pretty long already. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 link with a shortcut. Good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put them at the very end. And let's make sure that these are all nice and pretty. And then we're going to grab them and we're going to add them to every I'm going to do Control S. This is all our resources. Looks like it's setting up a resource for an icon, a 32 by 32 icon. That we're going to use. So let's add those resources that we're going to be adding up. We're going to do it to here. Actually, you know what? I can probably just select all those. I've already got that one open. Which one is which? I've got 2 of them here. Now that's interesting. It's going to be this one. This one I'm actually going to delete because it's, for some reason, it's there. Okay. We already got that one open. Okay. Oh, you silly thing. Instructors. Okay, good. Let's go back to selecting those guys. Okay. Contacts, index, lessons, rentals, template. Right click, open with, or no, it'll just open it. Boom, right there, all the way through. Great. Okay, why doesn't it not like this one right here for some reason? Control S. Oh, because maybe I deleted the temporary file, possibly. Okay, whatever. There. Control S. Remember to save it when you're done. There. Control S. There. Control S. There. Control S. And then we want it here. Control S. Okay. We did it. Now let's go ahead and look at our web page. Okay, the next thing we don't have is a link directly to instructors. We're going to have to add that. Okay. Do they tell us to do that in our instructions? Let's go back here. All right. Now let's go ahead and add it. Because it's kind of silly that we don't have that particular link. So let's go to, let's say, rentals. It's linked right here. So we need to actually add this guy to every one of them. So instructors is going to get a link to itself. No, we don't need a link to ourselves in instructors. Rentals. You know what? Let's do it. Let's just have it all the same. And you know what? Contact us is usually last. So let's modify it in this file. And then we will override it for all the others. Good. There. Control C. Okay, Control S. Save it. Rentals. Control V. Copy over. Control S. Save it. Template. Select. Control V. Control S. Contact us. Select it. Control V. Control S. Select it. Control V. Control S. You can just do copy paste. Select it. Control V. Control S to save it. That's it. So now when we open up our website, we should have some instructors for our border collies. Looks like we got some issues here that aren't showing up when we click on it. Looks like our images are being a stinker. There's lessons. Okay, this is actually a great example of where things can go wrong, because we wrote everything. We've tested the instructor's webpage. We know that we have everything apparently working, but all of a sudden when we apply this, everything stops working. Or when we added this, everything stops working. So why is that? Let's go ahead and look at what's going on. And that'll give us an indication. And then we'll see what we need to fix. So this is an opportunity for debugging. I'm going to make sure that I've got this saved by hitting Control S. I'm going to go back and I'm going to test it. Okay, now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove things that I've already added and see if whatever I added is the problem. Control S, go back to the website, refresh. Okay, so it's not something that I've added. Control V, unless Control S. Okay, and it's not fixing it itself with instructors. So I'm wondering if this has to do with the issue that I had when I deleted that file. Yeah, see why did a second one show up all of a sudden? Oh, because I got a misspelling. Is that why? But I just deleted it. That was this is interesting. This is an interesting problem, and let's go through figuring it out. Okay, this has got old changes. This is the old file. This is the new file. And they shouldn't have the same name. So this is a real interesting error. Unless they're actually named the same. Okay, let's do this. Let's take that name, since we know it's what we linked with. And we know that this is the old file. Let's delete it. We got to make sure we close this down before we modify the name. But let's go ahead and rename this and make sure, darn sure, it's the one that we've actually linked to. But just by, making sure that it's got the same spelling, it could have been something like that. Now I'm going to open it up. It's going to be in the editor. Now I'm going to open it with Chrome. Okay, that works. Let's go to lessons, back to instructors. Wow, so weird. You'll see stuff that happens that really shouldn't, and hey, sometimes you've got to do some of those steps that I talked about by taking stuff away, seeing if it changed anything, to find the actual problem of why it's no longer working the way it should with our 4-column setup. Okay, we have agility, freestyle. All these dog trainers love instruments. Okay, guys, that's enough for today. I will catch up with you on our next video. See you guys later. Bye.